What I want to start with today is I wanted you to tell me just a little bit about what life was like before Jesus for you guys, because it's incredible where you guys have come from.
I'm super nervous, so I wrote this stuff down. So I was raised in a Christian home, but my parents got divorced when I was young, and because they were struggling, I went to find acceptance and love in other places, and that led to drug addiction, domestic violence relationships, sexual abuse. I didn't know who I was, sexual identity, and that landed me in prison with trafficking charges and a bunch of other stuff.
Okay, Brian, how about you?
Well, I like to think of myself as I was an above-average drug dealer. No, but for real, I was a bad man. You know, I was a violent gang member. You know, you think of the bad guys in the movies. I was that guy. I was, you name it, I did it. And ultimately, it led to high-speed chase through the city, which landed me in the 8th floor of Oklahoma County Jail, Pod D, looking at 30 to life.
So what I want you guys to do, this is a little bit of the before. I want you to tell me a little bit about that lead up to your conversion, that lead up to meeting Jesus, and just what that looked like for both of you.
Well, so you guys know, I said I was raised in a Christian home, so I wasn't completely foreign to who God was, but absolutely I was in the darkness. So I went to prison, and I started spending time with this lady named Asha. On Saturday mornings, she would do a Bible study, and I would go in there and just kind of hang out with her, and we would talk about, you know, all of the things that God had carried us through. You know, like I should be dead right now, but I'm not, and that's a miracle. And it was then that I kind of was like, okay, God is real, and I think he might love me. You know, like I think this might be a real relationship. And so in that time, I was sitting on my bunk, and I was reading a book that I think was like Harry Potter or something like that. And I always thought people lied about stuff like this, like about what I'm about to tell you, but I heard the voice of the Lord tell me that my chains were breaking. Like the words, Chelsea, your chains are breaking, were like spoken into my ear, like I could have like looked over and seen him. And I knew that I didn't have to be a liar or a thief or a cheater or any of that again.
So good. Come on, Brian.
My story is a little different. You know, I didn't grow up in a Christian home or anything like that, but I was in the jail, and to say that my conversion experience was inconvenient is mild. It would have been way easier for me to go to prison what I was. It would have been way easier for me to just keep being the person I was, and God had other plans. I was in my cell doing push-ups, and I like to do timed interval workouts, so, you know, I looked for a clock. There wasn't one. The only book I had was a little orange Gideon's Bible, and so I was like, I'm going to read 10 sentences out of this book, and then I'm going to do my push-ups. And something happened. Something happened, and it doesn't make any sense. You know, I got to a verse that says, you cannot serve two masters. Either you'll serve me or you will serve mammon. And I remember, like, I'm a pretty analytical guy, and I'm like, what is this mammon? And I'm looking at my roommates going, maybe they're mammon. And, you know, but it rang home for me. And, you know, when you're in that life, you don't get to just quit, right? It costs something to get in, and it costs something to get out. Normally, that's your life. So, you know, it was terrifying, and I had to make a really hard decision. I remember thinking, what are you doing, man? So, yeah, I got to a place where they're like, hey, I need you to go do this thing. And I was like, I can't, bro. I'm just not with that right now. And they were like, well, what's up? You were with it the other day. And I said, I think I quit. and it didn't go over well, you know.
So what happened? What was it that had to happen for you to get out of your gang?
Well, so they're obligated to do something, you know. But we were all friends at that point in time. They're like, hey, we're not going to kill you, but we are going to beat you until you leave. And I didn't want to go to prison with a jacket that said I'm a catch out. And I didn't want to just, you know, I was between a rock and a hard place. So they beat me for months. And it went on for a good majority of my stay in prison.
Whew, come on. Okay, so do me a favor. You guys get out of prison. You've known each other for a while, but you guys end up getting together. And you come to OKC. Tell me what, being here at OKC, what's your journey been like since you guys have been here?
So I first came to OKC Community Church because I went to a small group, Single Moms with Katie, who is now Katie White, but was Katie Ellis then. And I don't have my son, you know, and there's a group for single moms. And so they accepted me and loved me and gave me a place to heal, you know. So then we came on a worship night and we were like, we're not switching churches. And then we came on a Sunday morning and we were like, we're switching churches. So, but I would say that something that being here, or what I've learned being here, is that intimacy and relationship is so important. And it's hard to get that at a bigger church, or, you know, I don't know. Big churches are great, but there's not a church like this church, you know. And what I would say about OKC Community Church is that it's inspired me to have an open door policy at my house. You know, like here we have an open door policy. You walk in this house and you know you're loved, and people see you and they want to know you. And I want that at my house. I want people to walk in the door of my home and say, I'm loved and I'm seen and I'm heard. And I think it's really been life-changing for us, you know?
So prior to coming here, you know, there was this spark inside of me. And when we came, it was like a catalyst moment for us, at least for me. I'm sure for my wife as well, but it was like gas being poured on the fire. And now we have this white hot passion that burns in us, and we tell everybody about this place, about the people. And it's just, you know, an increase in faith in so many ways, between the healing and just the gatherings. And you know, you can't put it into words. I just tell people, you have to come experience it for yourself. I don't do it any justice by telling you with words. You need to come be here.
So there's one more thing I want you to share, Brian, that you shared with me. Okay. Since he's been here, he'd mentioned that he'd never had this happen before, but on a worship night, he had this vision. And tell quickly about that vision.
Okay, so yeah, I was in worship, hands up, and I kind of was outside, and I look, and there's Jesus. And he looked regular, you know, as far as Jesus looking regular, I guess. But he kind of smiled, and it almost looked like he winked at me, and he knelt down. And we have a fireplace at home, and I'm not from the country. I'm a pretty city boy. And my wife's like, you need to blow in it if you want it to get fire to come up. And so I did. Well, in the same way, Jesus knelt down, but he was at the doors of the Tower Theater, and he blew. And it was like, it just ignited. And then like the embers traveled across the city, and the city kind of caught on fire. It was just, you know.
Come on, can we all agree on that vision? Come on. Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you. And let's give them one more round of applause. Come on.